Here at Michigan Family Wellness, we believe chiropractic care and nutritional-based therapies are a foundational part of a healthy family lifestyle. No matter where you're at in the mitten, having a family is such an exciting time of life. So instead of feeling overwhelmed by stress, fatigue, and responsibilities with the kids, we invite you to become part of this empowering community to create happy, healthy families. By providing engaging interviews and practical applications, Dr. Wallner cultivates family health by equipping our listeners with the tools they need to elevate wellness in their own family. Dr. Wallner passionately serves the Michigan community at his chiropractic and nutrition-based practice, where he specializes in pregnancy, pediatrics, and family wellness care. And now, here's your host, Dr. Kyle Wallner.
Good day, families, and welcome home. That's right, my name is Dr. Kyle, and this is the Empowering MFW family, and we are so glad to be with you today. If you are joining us for the first time, I want to thank you for tuning in. The health of you and your family is your number one priority. It is your greatest asset. The best way to have a healthy family is by living a family wellness lifestyle. So, if you're looking for efficient, effective, and sustainable ways to elevate your health and the health of your family, then I strongly recommend you make yourself comfortable because we have an amazing show for you today. And before we get to today's episode, let me say a few words as I do every week about Power Performance Gym. Power Performance Gym is dedicated to helping you achieve your best definition of healthy and strong. Power Performance specializes in strength and conditioning for individuals, small groups, and athletic teams, weight and pain management, as well as recovery and nutrition. Everyone at Power experiences a full movement and health analysis to build your blueprint for success, targeting your goals. Mention the Michigan Family Wellness Podcast to receive your movement and health analysis as a complimentary gift. Learn more about how Power Performance can help you move, look, and feel better by visiting powergym.com. That's POWRGYM.com. Karyn is a former self-employed business and executive coach with Kokeny and Associates, as well as a former PepsiCo executive where she spent a 20-and-a-half-year career. She grew up in Oakland County and is a graduate of Michigan State University and now resides in West Bloomfield. Karyn is finally living her life fully on purpose, representing an innovative, 5-time patented European medical device as an independent BEMER distributor. Karyn has a love for people, and in her personal time, she enjoys reading, dining out, and staying active outdoors. All right, families, let's welcome Karyn. Welcome, families, to the podcast for today. I'm elated to be joined by my guest, Karyn Kokeny. Welcome, Karyn, to the podcast. It's so great to have you.
Thank you, Dr. Kyle. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Karyn, this is a family wellness lifestyle podcast, so I always ask my guests, what does family look like for you?
Well, family for me, I'm single, and my family is mainly a furry family. So I have 2 dogs and a cat, and love to visit my extended family whenever I can.
That's brilliant, Karyn. I just want to add to that. You're so connected in the community here, and that's a major theme on the podcast is sometimes family is not necessarily our blood relatives, or the people that we were born into per se, but it's oftentimes the people that we abide with and that we just are in our lives, day after day. And I just want to honor and appreciate you for that as well.
You've really struck a chord with me because I've always believed that friends are the family that we choose for ourselves. So thank you for recognizing that.
Another question that we always ask our guests here on the episode is, what is your favorite part of Michigan?
I love Michigan. I left it twice and came back again each time.
Nice.
I love the 4 seasons.
Awesome.
I love the 4 seasons, and I love the lakes and everything, the lifestyle that revolves around the lakes. I even live on a lake, so I just love the lakes.
Perfect. I had no idea. Which lake do you live on?
On Middle Straits Lake. So the plushness of all of the, the greenery in Michigan in the summertime is beautiful. I stop and just look at it in awe so much as I can.
Fantastic, Karyn. Well, again, thanks so much for letting us know just a little bit about yourself and what you love about this beautiful state. I want to transition now into a discussion that is just so interesting to me from a healing professional perspective, and that is the conversation of the BEMER. So for those of you that may not be familiar with essentially electromagnetic frequency healing, this is the reason why I asked Karyn to join me on the podcast today. So, Karyn, can you tell us exactly what the BEMER is and how it benefits just everyone, essentially?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, first of all, BEMER is an acronym, and it stands for Bioelectromagnetic Energy Regulation. It's a product out of Europe. The company is actually headquartered in Liechtenstein, and it is a very simple device to use, essentially a lifestyle product. And when you use it, if you can envision a yoga mat, for example, with very special patented coils inside, you lie on that and energy waveforms emanate from it and stimulate increased blood flow throughout our entire body. And so with that, with increased blood flow, we get better nutrient and oxygen supply to all our cells and tissues and better metabolic waste removal. And that is essential to the optimal performance of our human body.
That's remarkable. So Karyn, I'm actually going to pause right there. That last comment you made was so packed full of value. Let's actually break that down for our listeners so that they really understand, because, I've heard this a couple of times, so I've had plenty of opportunities to digest everything you just said. But let's just work backwards. So the end result benefits is essentially that increased blood flow. Is that correct?
Correct.
Brilliant. And then tell us again, how is that accomplished by just laying down, like you said, kind of on top of a yoga mat? Can you really hash out that mechanism for us?
I will do my best. It's very complex to explain, but again, very simple to use. So let's take it a bit further. Mm-hmm. There are energy waveforms that emanate from these patented coils in the device. And we, as humans, are actually electrical beings. And in fact, sometimes when I'm doing public presentations, I'll break out an energy ball or an energy stick, and I'll demonstrate how we conduct electricity. That's, in fact, how EKGs work, right?
Exactly. Yes. Perfect.
Yeah. So to back up again, this is why our bodies respond to electromagnetic fields. Mm-hmm. BEMER, in essence, isn't an electromagnetic field device, but it uses PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic field, as the carrier to deliver this BEMER impulse. This BEMER impulse is multiple waveforms of energy that emanate from the mat, and it actually activates a movement in the vessels that help move the blood through the circulatory system, and particularly in the microvessels, in our tiniest vessels in our body.
Brilliant.
And that's
gotcha.
Most.
So if I were to just pause there again for a second, again, I really want people to understand this. I'm going to try to use some analogies, and correct me if I'm wrong here. Mm-hmm. But again, I really want people to track and understand. Mm-hmm. So in the same way that we can receive healthy waveforms or basically sine waves of light from the sun, for example, the sun hits our skin, we make vitamin D, and that's very healthy. I think most people would agree with that. Also, we can receive too much sun. We can get sunburn. There's concerns about being exposed to too much ultraviolet light and the skin cancer concerns with that. Mm-hmm. So there is that component. There's also the components of, for people that work in a office setting and they are constantly exposed to the fluorescent lights. If they're sitting all day and they're always under those lights, they often tell me they feel very fatigued at the end of the day. They just feel drained completely. So there's that kind of frequency as well. And furthermore, have you ever experienced the environment or the atmosphere during a summer thunderstorm or right after it rains? It's those negative ions in the air. The air is so crisp, and it's just, you feel good when you take that breath in, especially through your nose.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. What you're saying is there's good energy and safe energy, and there's not good energy.
Exactly.
And BEMER uses very gentle frequencies, 10 and 30 hertz only, and it's using very low levels in terms of the strength of this field of energy, lower than the strength of the field, the geomagnetic field of the Earth.
Interesting.
That's why it's not only safe to use it every day, but it's actually something our bodies really need, because you said it best, is we can't live without that energy.
Exactly.
We can't live without oxygen. We can't live without nutrients. We can't live without water. And we cannot live without energy from the sun, as you mentioned. And the energy, we get energy from the earth. I don't think there's any mistake in that. This is how we were designed.
Outstanding. Yeah. And I think also, especially in the context of our stressful lifestyles, always being on the go, always having so much pressure from our work, from our family, from our friends, from our community, combine that with our standard American diet. Our diets are not that great all the time. And I mean, gosh, we could be here all day talking about food, but our soil is so polluted as well. So we're not getting those good nutrients from our food to begin with. So that creates a very acidic environment. And then if we're not moving, if we're sedentary, basically we're developing metabolic syndrome, metabolic disease. And so much of that has to do with that decreased cardiovascular function, that decreased blood flow. So when I look at a tool or a healing device like the BEMER, it just makes perfect sense. You get enhanced general blood flow. Furthermore, cellular waste removal. Can you talk a little bit about the waste removal and how that benefits people?
Well, if we think about everything we put into our body, food, for example, being a very obvious one. When we put food into our body, it's either going to convert to energy. It's something that our body can convert and use as energy, or it's something that if it cannot convert it to energy, then the body recognizes it as a toxin and it gets stored as a toxin. This is also one of the functions of fat. Our bodies hold on to fat to store the toxins in our body to protect those organs from toxins. And so if we're not getting rid of metabolic waste every single day on a regular basis, then that starts to build up in the body. As do other things. And now we're also creating an environment where disease can set in. And if you think about the body in terms of the iceberg, I love to use that as a metaphor. Only 7% of the iceberg, if you really study it, is above the surface. So I liken that to the symptoms. We often in our society, we wait for symptoms to show up to tell us whether something's right or wrong with our bodies. So we wait for that, discomfort in the head, or we wait for the feelings of tiredness, lethargy, exhaustion. And then typically as a culture, we'll pick up a phone and often turn to the prescription of medication. But there's a better way, because 93% of the iceberg is below the surface. And if you think about what sunk the Titanic, if anybody ever saw the movie The Titanic,
right,
it wasn't what the captain could see above the surface, it was what was below. It's the same with our bodies, because by the time those symptoms show up, much of the damage is already done. The cellular health everything starts small in the body. So these things can be going on for weeks, months, or even years before something shows up above that surface. So what I love about BEMER and paying attention to good blood flow is it's focusing on taking care of all that below the surface. Good blood flow, which subsequently gives us a better nutrient and oxygen supply to the cells and tissues, and better metabolic waste removal. So again, you're focusing on the fundamental processes of the body, and in essence, the BEMER supporting the body's own ability to heal itself.
Thomas Edison is credited with the following statement that I just really resonate with. The doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patients in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. So, Karyn, as a chiropractor, as a natural healthcare professional, this just completely resonates with me, especially in the context of, I look at the BEMER, it's drug-free, it's surgery-free, it's completely natural, like we've been saying for the past, entire episode here.
Yes.
And it really enhances the cardiovascular, the circulatory system, which is compromised in so many people today.
Yes.
Furthermore, this even deeper resonates with me because as a doctor of chiropractic, I love supporting people's neurologic systems, their central nervous system. So when I deliver an artful chiropractic adjustment to someone's spine, I know for a fact that they are now experiencing more life per moment because we've removed that interference, and we can allow that, like you said earlier, the electroconductivity connection between that brain, nerve, muscle, organ, whatever it may be, that is significantly enhanced by those artful chiropractic adjustments. So when you pair that, or when you marry that with the improved blood circulation, like with the BEMER, it's just such a harmonious and synergistic combination. Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree. Doing just those two things, getting regular chiropractic care and using a BEMER, ideally every day, twice a day for 8 minutes each time, 16 minutes a day, would be two of the very, very best gifts one could give to themselves for optimal health. And oh, by the way, we haven't even mentioned the slow down the aging process, because
Brilliant.
all of those lifestyle things that you mentioned earlier, that's key. That those things, the stress, putting things in our mouths that are not so good for the body, environmental toxins and stressors. These are all things that negatively impact the ability of the blood to flow, and it impairs our cardiac function and our ability to just live a quality life and up the aging process. So by again getting chiropractic care on a regular basis, BEMER therapy, we've just again given ourselves one of the greatest gifts, I think. Two of the greatest gifts.
Brilliant. And again, there's such a spectrum, if you will, of people that can benefit from this natural therapy. And I'm just thinking of people that are tremendously ill with really debilitating autoimmune diseases. You know, I think we've talked privately in our pre-chat about multiple sclerosis, you know, some really diagnostic pathological conditions. And then there's also just like, you know, the everyday person that wants to elevate their health and their wellness lifestyle, so they can receive benefits as well.
Yes.
And then furthermore, definitely that high-end professional athlete who's looking for that competitive edge.
Yes. Anybody can use the BEMER. Even pets have blood, right? Even plants have circulatory systems. It's just water, not blood. And in all three of those cases, we all benefit. They're even using BEMER in the neonatal departments in some of the hospitals over in Europe. BEMER is already in well over 1 million households. It's in over 4,000 hospitals. In the country of Hungary, BEMER is in every single one of the 56 hospitals in the country of Hungary. And in the main military hospital in Budapest, they are treating between 250 and 275 people per day. Just amazing. So anybody can use BEMER. From infant to the very, very old. Animals can use BEMER. In fact, for those of you watching the video, there's a beautiful new equestrian unit that came out in December. There are some very notable professional Olympic athletes using the BEMER. There was a horse that won the Kentucky Derby that's a BEMER user. And
awesome.
Many we can mention. But so many of these athletes understand that we're not allowed to mention their names because they actually use it as their secret weapon. So,
gotcha.
And in terms of athletes, just to add a little piece, the athletes use BEMER before they go out and compete because of the level of oxygenation of the blood. So it makes better concentration, better strength, endurance, all of those things, focus. But then after the sport, they get on it again. And what it does afterwards, by an 8-minute therapy after sport, that's the buildup of lactate.
Right.
So they get a quicker recovery, which is critical to optimal performance. And this is what gives them an edge, not to mention the BEMER sleep program, which is a whole other area or topic of conversation, which takes it all to another level.
So just to summarize what you're saying there, if you are an athlete, whether you're strength training, whether you're an aerobic athlete and you do cardiovascular training, you know, those really intense triathlons, those marathons, those Ironmans, you can have significant benefit from using this technology, using this device, both in the training for the event itself. What I also hear you saying is the recovery right after the events, if you will. So the faster recovery times, you're going to experience the benefits from your exercise and from your training faster when you have this healthy waveform energy support. Is that fair?
Correct.
Awesome. Now, Karyn, there is a concept of the panacea, if you will, in terms of like, you know, one thing to cure everything. And of course, we know that's not necessarily fact or true. But I did want to ask you clinically, are there any contraindications with this technology and this device? For example, if someone does have, some hardware or like a pacemaker or something, is that going to be a safe thing to use in the context of the BEMER?
The only contraindication for BEMER is somebody who's had an organ transplant, because in this country, not only have they had an organ transplant, but they're also on immunosuppressants.
Okay.
So those two things together are the only contraindicator for BEMER. There are a few other situations where we would certainly strongly encourage a person to work in partnership with their physician while using a BEMER, but that should answer your question.
Sure, absolutely. So is pregnancy a concern? Is anything like that?
Mm-hmm. Pregnant women can go on the BEMER. I personally do not put any pregnant women on the BEMER. It's a sensitive topic.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
In Europe, it's very common. And if somebody is on the BEMER, for example, and using the BEMER regularly and then becomes pregnant, by all means, they could continue. But again, I would always refer them to their physician, their OBGYN, and work in partnership with them and make sure that their physician is comfortable with the continued use of the BEMER. Always, always, always.
Fantastic. Yeah. So just like anything else, consult with your licensed professional healthcare provider and make sure that this is cleared for you. Although we are really advocating for the benefits, for so many people, again, always very safe to check with your qualified healthcare professional. So Karyn, I also understand BEMER is collaborating with some pretty intense, technologically advanced companies. Is that correct? Can you tell us more about that?
Yes. It would take some time to talk about all of the BEMER cooperations and collaborations, but the one that we're probably most proud of is our joint collaboration agreement with NASA as part of the Space Act agreement. So you were talking about how we feel after a storm, and we were talking about how we need energy to live. Well, NASA actually found BEMER and signed a joint collaboration agreement with BEMER in March of 2015. So we are actively working with them today, and we're able to weave this technology into fine fabric. So it will be woven into the undergarments of the astronaut spacesuits. Because when they leave the Earth, no sunlight, they have everything else up in space, right? Astronauts have everything, even fitness. Right. But what they don't have is there's no gravity and no connection to the geomagnetic field of the Earth and no sunlight.
Exactly.
So this technology is providing energy and helps to move those fluids, blood, through the body so that they get less impacted by, in terms of muscle atrophy and all of those things. It's essential to their survival.
Right. I think many people can understand when the astronauts come back from their space environment, there's often, there's changes that, from being outside of that Earth's gravitational field for so long, their bodies have to readjust. So by using this technology, there's not such a dramatic significance of an adjustment is what you're saying.
Well, that remains to be seen. But
exactly.
What we can take to the bank is that we are actively working with NASA today, and I'm excited for what will come from that in the future. But that, to me, is the ultimate validation.
Awesome. Thank you. That being said, Karyn, I just want to let people know I have experienced the BEMER personally. It was great to actually work with yourself. And I would say for me, it was the second or third time when I actually experienced the device itself, when I really felt that enhanced blood flow, especially in my peripheries, in my distal extremities. And I was like, man, I really feel like I want to go move right now and exercise, and just more mental clarity as well. So I can definitely speak from personal experience that this thing really does work.
Well, fantastic. And I don't know if you want me to share really quickly my story. I think it would be relevant for some of the listeners.
Absolutely. Please.
I was introduced to the BEMER, and of course, like so many people I talked to about it, I had never heard of it before. And I was a pretty healthy person, pretty athletic, etc. But having come from a medical family, I went home and started to do some research. Now, BEMER is backed by lots and lots of clinical studies, so the science is there. This is not a technology that's on trial. It is absolutely proven. And in fact, just to divert for a minute, anybody who wants to look up the studies can go on to pubmed.gov.
Mm-hmm.
You would go to the advanced tab and search one of two things, either Rainer Klopp, Rainer, and the last name Klopp, Klopp, or BEMER vascular therapy. And you'll find roughly 40 studies, just US studies alone, not to mention all the international studies that are available. So backing up, I looked at studies, I looked at YouTube videos, and after 4 days, I couldn't stop thinking about my mom, who was 83 at the time, and how much this could help her because her quality of life had diminished very, very greatly in the last year, and it concerned me. So I brought BEMER home after 4 days of research, and we both started to benefit. Now, I can't tell her story, but I'm just so grateful looking back on that day. She now owns a BEMER, and she has hers on the other side of her bed. Myself, I had a condition where my fingers would go completely white. I'd lose the feeling. It would be loaded with discomfort. It was a daily discomfort. And that whole situation is gone. I'm able to sit back on my heels again, whereas I was not able to do that after fracturing my left ankle twice. So for 16 years, I couldn't bend my left ankle. Wow. Now I've got full flexibility back. And my sleep quality, I used to wake up multiple times during the night and go through the day with brain fog. Now I sleep so well, dreaming again for the first time in decades, and I'm mentally crisp and clear even when I don't get enough sleep. That alone's been worth the price of entry for me. So BEMER is phenomenal. My energy is great. I can't say enough about the technology. It's been utterly, positively life-changing. And now this is what I do full time. I work with people, helping people to get their health back, using BEMER as a critical tool in that journey.
Well, thanks so much, Karyn. I really appreciate your time this morning. Do you have any last quotes or things of inspiration or anything that you want to leave with our listeners for today?
That's a good one. Well, you already said my famous Thomas Edison quote. I really love that. There's one more that's coming to mind that I would like to share, and I'll see if I can get this right. It's by Arthur Clarke, and he's quoted as saying that any significantly advanced technology is nearly indistinguishable from magic. You know, there are 45,000 diseases that are listed in health journals, medical journals today, 45,000 that we face as a culture, and nearly all of those can be traced back to insufficient blood flow. So BEMER is a vascular therapy device that improves blood flow. You can come to your own conclusions for what might happen with the body as we give it improved blood flow. I just encourage, again, everybody to try it out and see how it feels for you and just learn more, because even if it's not for you, we all know somebody, right? We all know somebody at some point that's going to benefit from using BEMER, and we would love to be able to help them. So thank you so much for having me on your show today. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Karyn. Honor and appreciation. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks again.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, families, what'd you think? We'd love to get your feedback. If you would like to email me about anything you've heard on this or any previous edition of the Family Wellness Lifestyle Podcast, you may do so by writing Dr. Kyle at MichiganFamilyWellness.com and take full advantage of the Family Lifestyle Audio Library at MichiganFamilyWellness.com. Connect with us on social media at Michigan Family Wellness. Thanks so much for tuning in, families. Have an awesome week, and remember, we can do far more together than we could ever do apart.
Now that you've been equipped with the latest in family wellness solutions, we want to encourage you to apply these strategies right away. But the thing is, there's still so much to learn. Connect with Dr. Wallner's Chiropractic and Nutrition Office by going to MichiganFamilyWellness.com and click the newsletter sign-up button to join the informative and supportive community of chiropractic wellness. You will also receive as a gift from Dr. Wallner a copy of Michigan Family Wellness Solutions, an invaluable resource containing dynamic tools to elevate family health and vitality. Michigan Family Wellness wants to thank you for being part of today's podcast. Please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and review.